Okay. Hello everyone. This is Kiru's show here. And whenever we last left off, Deku had just taken down the hero killer with the help of 4 other students from UA. Now, the reason why Todoroki told I think it was Todoroki, he told Ida not to fight with hatred in his heart is because he's been fighting with he's been fighting with endeavor to not use his side or his fire side. So he just did not really want to, or he's been fighting with it. And anytime he always thought about it, he wanted to retaliate and just throw fire into his face. Now, that being said, the final exams, these are going to be something a little bit special. You see, I've been trying to keep it a little lighthearted for most of the what if, and someone was hoping I would make it a bit darker, because all my other what ifs are a little dark. Even my 10 Quirks one, which was basically about Deku having a lot of mental health issues long ago. Now, that one is actually very personal to me. And it hits way too close to home because the amount of detail I go into that one is not something I prepare for. This one I kind of did a little preparing. Now, essentially, this is whenever everyone would hear that they are going to be having a final exam. They're really curious and they're really excited. And they would go get into their hero suits, but instead of hero suits, they find judge outfits, kits, provisions, and some other things, which the teachers would provide. I don't want to straight out say it, but yeah, they would provide them. Now, they also have water filters and essentially MREs. They are told by the teachers that they have 2 weeks to actually, before the physical exam or the final exam starts. And they are going to be taking a little test. They're going to spend 2 weeks out in the wasteland. And whoever comes back alive, they will face their teachers for a combat portion. Because they've spent their whole lives in the walls, and they may not know what it's like, but they are going to be doing this because it is not going to be something easy for them. Now then, I don't want to straight out go into detail about it, but if I were to spend time talking about what happened over these 2 weeks, it would probably not be fun. But anyways, a short summary is they would leave the walls and survive for 2 weeks. Deku would have been to a couple places Dredd's been to before, along with meeting and actually having to take down a rogue group of cannibals. Which, if you guys have seen the old movie, this is essentially the rest of the family Dredd killed in the original movie. Let's say that this family, they would be surprised to find judges, if not an entire squad of them. They would have been trying to attack and trying to kill everyone. They would have captured a few, but they would have eventually got them back. And they would come back after the 2 weeks. Which is whenever Deku and everyone else would return. They would be beaten, bloody, exhausted, and missing some gear. And that's just 1A. 1C and lower actually did suffer a bit of casualties, but that was to be expected. 1A was the only class that actually did come out somewhat not unscathed, but somewhat fine. Now then, I really, as soon as everyone gets back, they would immediately be told that they are going to be facing their teachers. Everyone is confused and shocked, thinking that they would have gotten at least a minute to sit down or to relax before they were going to do this. But as soon as they walked through the doors, they were basically told to get their shit together and go fight their teachers. Everyone's praying that they don't get All Might, and Deku and Bakugo would land on All Might. Whereas as soon as that would happen, All Might would walk out and tell them that he expects better from them. Now, as soon as that would happen, Deku and Bakugo would go out in their suits, and they would face off against All Might. Now then, Deku and Bakugo would be talking about how they don't stand a chance, they're exhausted, they're beaten, and how he thinks that he needs a tetanus shot. Deku, on the other hand, he is ready to face All Might, and this is whenever All Might would throw a smash at them, and Deku would have immediately retaliated with his own at around 65%. He's not at 65%, but he is around there. Now, as soon as he provided this punch, All Might would have actually thrown another one. And Deku would have realized that All Might's not actually going to go easy on them. Now, like I did say in this What If, I believe All Might is actually less injured. So he's actually at about 85 to 90% of one for all. And Deku, he is nowhere near that close. So now then, this is whenever Bakugo and Deku, they're realizing that this is not going to be easy. They would have immediately been blitzed by All Might, and All Might would send Bakugo flying with a swift knee to the face. Bakugo would have gotten back up, and he would have actually tried to charge at All Might. Deku would have actually covered All Might in fire and tried throwing him with his telekinesis. That would not have worked, so he would have immediately tried making All Might float and just punch him away. And these teachers in this timeline, they are not wearing weights because the students are exhausted. I mean, they were offered to, but some of them did not. If not, most of them did not wear weights. Principal Nezu, he wore weights, but all he did was sit in a crane, so they didn't really matter. And, no, that does not work. Anyways, back to this fight. Actually, while I'm on the topic, the people who replaced the teachers, or the people who replaced the kids in 1A, the teams they were on actually passed, so only one team failed, which was only Kaminari's and Mina's team. Now then, Deku and Bakugo. Deku's charging an All Might, and he would actually get no grapple hold. All Might's talking about how he knows that they're exhausted, but even judges can be beaten bloody and still fight. So Deku would realize that he has no choice but to actually throw punches at All Might at around what he believes to be at 100%. He would start throwing punches with All Might as Bakugo is actually trying to help Deku by climbing on All Might's back and throwing explosions into his face. And this would not work. So Deku, he would tell Bakugo to jump off of All Might as he would stab his fingers in All Might's nose and actually throw him over his shoulder through a couple buildings. All Might would have gotten up and his nose would be bloody, saying that that was a cheap shot, but it is well noticed. As soon as he would blitz Deku, Deku would have immediately been able to see him and actually bring his hands up to block his punch. But this was what actually start sending him flying as he would stop himself, and All Might would have immediately just knocked him to the ground. Bakugo would have actually charged in, and All Might would have grabbed Bakugo by the throat and just smashed him into the ground, breaking a few ribs. Because of this, everyone's talking, and the teachers that are watching in the stand or the observation area are actually thinking All Might's going a bit too far. Which, don't get me wrong, he is, but his time limit is larger. But it's just, he still has to buff down sometimes. So he can essentially be a hero for around 18 hours to 20 hours maximum, which is still a very long time. Now then, because of this, All Might is actually just now starting to lose his time, since he did pass on One For All. So, Deku would charge up at about 70%, and he would throw a smash at All Might. All Might would have immediately been able to just shake this off and throw his own punch at Deku. Now then, as soon as that would have happened, Bakugo, he would have grabbed onto All Might. He would just be trying to blow off All Might's arm because he will not let him go. In fact, All Might's actually crushing Bakugo's arm. All Might would have then started grabbing his other arm and start crushing it again. Now, he's not actually breaking them, but he's just squeezing them very intensely. Now, as soon as that would have happened, Bakugo actually would have just swung his feet up and just blast All Might as much as he can in the face. And he's actually just stomping in All Might's face while trying to blast him over and over again, which is actually straining the Bakugo's hamstrings and the muscle fibers in his legs. Deku would have then charged in and actually just blow fire at All Might as he would have let go of Bakugo. As soon as Deku would have gotten close enough, he would have brought his arms up. As soon as All Might brought his arms in front of him to block, like coming in for like a double uppercut, Deku would have immediately just swung his arms wide and smashed All Might in the ears. Now, as soon as he smashed All Might in the ears, All Might, the bones and the liquid in his ears would have immediately just start swooshing around in his head. Because of this, this actually disorients All Might. So he's actually off balance as Bakugo would actually just start throwing explosions at All Might. Deku would have immediately just tried lifting All Might into the air and bringing him down with an uppercut and trying to use his actual pyrokinesis, which he does not like using very often, but when he does, he gets very serious with it. So he would have started just using as much of his power to just throw buildings and anything he can into All Might and just lighting it on fire, fusing it together. He would have thought he got All Might contained in a ball of cement and steel rebar, but All Might would have immediately punched through it and tell them that they're not going to win. Deku would have powered up to about 80%, which is where he feels like he's about to burst with power, or his arm might blow off, but he would immediately just run toward All Might and just punch him as fast as he can. Now he's just throwing haymakers, and he would immediately just accidentally hit near All Might's weak spot. Now he would have punched like that with his left arm, actually hitting All Might like in his rib, right underneath, if not about an inch or so underneath his weak spot, and gone for an uppercut, sending All Might flying. Now, as soon as this happened, All Might... Oh, that's my wire. All Might would have actually just been gone. He would be flying out of the city, and he would actually smash into the observation room. Or at least outside of it. Now, as soon as that happened, Deku and Bakugo would have taken this chance to run. Because Deku can He can barely move his arms, and Bakugo is limping. So they would actually be holding on to each other, someone actually just walking. Deku is actually holding up Bakugo with his arms, and Bakugo is essentially just holding Deku with. Bakugo is holding up Deku with his arm, and Deku is actually helping Bakugo walk. So these two would eventually walk out and pass out. Now then. Oh, it's ready to start. Anyways, yeah, if anyone plays Xbox One, I suggest you guys look on the game store right now, because a lot of the games right now are about like 75% off. And I just bought like, what was it? Yeah, 5 games for about like $40. And all these games are literally over $30 each. I really want to like talk about them. One of them I made a what if on already. One of them is a primal game, and the other one's very nostalgic. But now then, back to the what if. Deku and Bakugo would have woken up, and let's cut to the part where they're on the bus for the forest training arc. They're on the bus, and Deku and Bakugo are talking, and in between them, or they're not next to each other, but Deku and Bakugo are talking on the bus. This is whenever Uraraka, she's actually sitting down next to, she's sitting down next to Deku, and him and her are talking a bit about what to do. She's talking about how she's really happy she met them, but it's very confusing that they always seem to be fighting or just training. And she would then say that it doesn't make sense to her, as they always do that. Deku would state that it doesn't really need to make sense, just that that's how they are. They would then get off the bus, and this is whenever they're all talking, and Uraraka would come up to Deku, and she's blushing. She would say that she has a question she needs him to answer, and right before Deku can ask what it is, the landslide would occur, and they would fall into a forest. Now, everyone's actually confused, because they would say that this is a giant mass of trees. What is it? As I would just shout from up on the cliff that it's a forest, and it's actually one of the preserved ones. In fact, it's one of the only ones left in Japan. Now, after that would happen, they would fight through the monsters. Deku would do the supersonic punch, where he just obliterates nearly everything in front of him, and make a path as they would all fight through it and arrive at the camp just in time to train. Now, whenever they would go, this is whenever Deku, they would see the Pussycats. And they would then be talking to them, saying that they're actually quite a bit early, but even so, they will let it slide. Not only did, well, we're not going to let it slide, but you actually went past your expectations, so you get dinner and you'll actually get to sleep in a little bit early. Which basically means they're only going to get like at least an extra 5 or 10 minutes than every other class. I'm just joking. They would say that they're joking, they're not that nice. As they would then start saying that they are going to eat, then they are going to train. Everyone is kind of surprised at hearing that they're about to start training, literally after fighting through a forest. The Pussycats would say that they don't care. In fact, if they had their way, they wouldn't even sleep for the next 3 days. Anyway, guys, the event with Koda would not happen. where he would punch him in the nuts. Anyways, this is because Kodo was actually raised to be more respectful, and the fact that his aunt is a judge would actually make him very, very fearful of doing any wrongdoings in his life. Now then, I'm going to be leaving this part off of here, guys. And I actually had an idea for a what if that seemed kind of interesting. It seemed kind of stupid in my head, but I've seen people do like a dragon quirk deku. But I was thinking like if you guys have ever seen like it's called like Miss Colbito's Dragon Maid, I believe. It's hard to pronounce what it's called, but it's like an anime, and it's like a dragon from another world became a woman's like maid at her house. Except I was gonna have Deku be like a butler for the Yayurozus. Would it be a good idea? Because I thought it would be cool, but I haven't checked to see if anyone's ever done like a version of Deku that's like that. Anyway, guys, I was gonna put that on the list, and I was actually gonna do a short what if after I get done with this one that someone actually suggested. Now then, I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I will catch you guys later.